people, we
Hello.
are back. All right.
Yeah.
He is
I'm
Marco Zingaretti.
and she is Nonatamsang Zingaretti.
Yes, and together we are
Different strokes, MNZ.
Thank you so much for your support. I know it's been slow, but hey, this is our second episode. Only our second episode. I am chuffed at the feedback, some of the feedback that we received.
Absolutely.
Which is really encouraging. I just want to start by indicating a few things. All right, so the previous episode was about our childhood or our childhoods or upbringing, and we just decided to make the second episode about school days, so it's like a continuation. All right, so it is different strokes MNZ, family matters, childhood part 2. Okay, so I am going to start as
requested,
doing ladies first.
Exactly.
Once again, but before I start, I just want to highlight a few things with regards to the feedback that we received.
Yeah.
All right, and I know that there is one particular feedback. It was not a lot, it was a few, but there's one that stood out for me from Twitter. I got a DM from Tam Tam Chocolate. I don't know. Okay, hope I'm saying it correctly. At Tam Tam. So I'm paraphrasing, right? He or she says, with regards to my upbringing and the fact that we were beaten up. When I say we, I'm talking me and my siblings. We're beaten up. Sometimes you get beaten up until you almost pass out. This person is saying that I turned out okay and that everything is okay and I didn't die. And I'm okay.
Thank God for that, eh?
Yeah.
Otherwise I would be without you, so yeah.
I didn't die. I mean, I was taken aback. I had to think about that and really analyze, those words. And to be honest with you, hashtag, I am not okay. All right? I'm not okay. I might seem that, I turned out okay and I've made peace with my past, etc., etc. But the truth of the matter is that this got me thinking, all right? This got me thinking that, okay, so I turned out okay and, our parents beat us up because they were correcting us and they were trying to show us the right way to do things, or that we should not do things that are untoward or things that are out of character, etc. It got me thinking about what happens this day and age with regards to the issue that is a contentious one in Africa, in South Africa particularly, about gender-based violence. So if, for example, you don't agree with me in any way and we have an argument and you want me to see things your way, you need to beat me up in order for me to understand. So that's the only language that I understand. Is that what we're all about? Is that what we have come to as a people? So you cannot even use your words.
It's like once in a film, a very old film, a war film, they were talking about horses and they were saying you can either beat a horse into submission to make it do what you want, or you can actually try and teach it. But a lot of people choose the beating because it's the easier way, because they don't want to waste time on trying to teach and,
Right.
So, yeah.
It's very, for me personally, I feel that it is disturbing. So As a parent, when your child does good and that good doesn't seem to be recognized, okay, you as a parent not showing affection to your children, and the only thing that stands out is your beating your children, right? I know there's a whole thing, you know, and it's biblical. It's in Proverbs 13 somewhere that says, he who doesn't, something about he who spares the rod doesn't love their child. So if you are going to beat your children until they bleed, until they have dark black marks on their bodies, that shows love.
Absolutely
right? I have a friend who told me something very disturbing. His friend, actually, and neighbor, has, I think, 3 children. So he has, this friend or neighbor has a 15-year-old daughter. The father bought the daughter an iPhone. I think it was an iPhone 8, brand new, okay? The child happened to, walk down the street, she was walking home from the shops and she got robbed. They took her cell phone. That child was terrified of going back home.
For the beating she would have got.
Oh boy, did she get a beating.
Wow.
She got a beating of her life, to a point that she was bashed against walls, punched, kicked by her father, a 15-year-old girl. And to be honest with you, in any society, or not any society, but I'll say specifically in South Africa, people have this tendency of saying, you know what, I don't want it. It's none of my business. I don't want to be part of whatever's happening. That is a family affair.
I'm going to be brutally honest here. People might not like what I'm going to say, but even if I see, people that I don't know, but I see an adult person and beating really hard on a kid, I would intervene straight away. I wouldn't really care.
Yeah. Honestly speaking, there are people that would intervene, okay, but they are very few and far in between, because everybody has this, you know what, I don't want to get involved. I might end up getting harmed while trying to intervene. And so, look, I'm not okay. Okay. The idea that I was corrected, for me, doesn't stand. It doesn't hold any water, because you could have used your words. You could have sat down with me and said, listen, I understand you did this and you know that it wasn't supposed to have been done this way. Could we do it differently going forward? That's what I do with my kids. And I'm not saying that I've done an amazing job. Okay?
I think you have.
Stop. Honestly speaking, I don't think or feel that I should hammer something into my children's heads by beating them up. You end up having people that actually are resentful, that resent you instead of respecting you, fearing you instead of loving you as a parent. And for me, that is, I wouldn't, I can't, But then, hey, that's the reason why we have this channel. to discuss and talk openly about such issues, right?
Yeah, of course.
Right.
I mean,
and by the way, we did receive another feedback from acquaintances. This particular person says that what the hell do we think we're doing with this podcast, because we can't fix Africa.
what a joke.
We can't fix Africa. Hey, hello, we are not out here to fix Africa. We are here. The purpose of this podcast is to open up conversations.
And open people's eyes.
Look, we are having conversations that are mostly difficult to talk about, but we're saying, please interact with us so that we can talk about them, talk about these issues, because they affect us on a day-to-day basis, right?
Exactly.
Right.
So let me ask you this. Was it mainly you getting the beating, or was it the other siblings too? Was there more or less? How was it, knowing the situation with your family now?
Everybody got
okay.
equal share.
Well, I mean,
with such energy, like I always think to myself, okay, if that energy was channeled, to a different direction or into a different direction, and then I have to think back at the anger that had to be there for the beating to be to that extent,
Yeah.
You bear the scars, even if the scars physically have faded, but you do bear the scars of the flashbacks.
Yeah. Well, you see, the thing is this, right? For example, I received beatings as well when I was a kid. I mean, big time, more from my father than from my mother. But I was lucky to only get beatings, because theoretically they should have had me arrested, because I was such a, an earthquake. I was a very vindictive kid. And it all started in school, in primary school. As I said, last week, people start making fun of my weight and whatever, and I just said, no, I'm not having it. And that's why, I turned into, I'm not, as I said, not violent, but, I'd stand my ground,
Right.
And, but, my parents, I I was terrible, my mum was getting called into school every day, or every 2 days, because I did something wrong. Mm-hmm. She was always receiving calls from the headmaster, And I remember this one occasion, maybe I told you about this, when, I was in the primary school and it was like a bungalow. And I was just looking through books and I started throwing them on top of the roof at the school. And they made my mum come down. They gave her a ladder and they made her go up on the roof and pick them up. So when I got home, you can imagine I was, I got my fair share of beatings. And she actually got to a point that sometimes she had to actually tie me to the staircase so I couldn't move, because she,
Wow.
And she just couldn't bear it anymore. And as I said, from the age of 4.5, 5 till 12, I had to go to a psychiatrist. So, I wasn't all there. Maybe I'm still not, but I think
what have I gotten myself into?
But as I said, I'm not a bad person, but I will stand my ground in any situation, And as I said, in school, it was, well, I can remember quite a few of the beatings from my dad. My dad would come home and my mum would say, oh, look, today he did this. That was it. He's only used his hands. He's never used belts or whatever, but, oh, the fair share, sweetheart. Oh, well, yeah.
Wow.
Hey.
I think that's the reason why you're this stubborn today.
Me,
so,
stubborn. How dare you?
Stop that. Look, when it comes to my school days, I actually feel as though it's something that I'd rather forget, you know what I'm saying? Because they were terrible from the get-go. I remember primary school, um, you would get beatings. Man, you know what? I think we were actually being abused. It wasn't chastising a child or
And this by the
just
teachers.
yes.
Wow.
No, man. We were abused. We were actually we were abused. There was a time when I was smacked at the age of, I think I was 6 or 7, smacked across the face by this huge hand from one of the teachers, right? I lost my balance. I remember it like it was yesterday. Everything went blurry. I fell to the floor, and she picked me up by my my school dress. Okay, I had on a dungaree. She picked me up and she put me against the wall and told me to pick up a broom and sweep. Like, how do you sweep when you can't even see? I also remember getting beaten up until I bled, and I couldn't have been more than 9 years old. People, we were abused, Bantu, and that's why a lot of people skipped school because of that. Am I being dramatic?
No, not at all, not at all. I mean, I remember one occasion I was in a French lesson. So what I think about French. So I was actually really good. It was one of those, because I've always been good with languages, but I can't remember precisely what happened. And the teacher just said, "Look, come to the front of the class," and she picked me in, and she pulled me by my arm. So I kicked her in the shins, and I got suspended.
I wish I could do that. At some point, I had a vision of going back to that school, primary school. And, now that I'm older, I've got more strength, and, I can actually go in there and just...
But do you think that teacher will still be there?
Oh, you know what? I don't think so.
Pity,
They probably retired a long time ago. But yeah, some years back I did think of that. Now that I am older, maybe I should just go there and just like smack her around a little bit.
That'd be fun.
That was primary school. In high school, we went to this school, and when I say we, it's me and my older brother. My older brother. We went to a school that was, I will say, infested, lack of a better word, with gangsters wannabes, and like a lot of people with no purpose but going to school and just deciding, you know what, who can we bother today? There were also a lot of stabbings. There were rapes as well. And the only reason I will say I survived was because of my older brother. I mean, he's not a big person. You know him. He's just about the same boat as me, if not smaller, right? He stood up for me. And there was a time when the students, or rather the pupils, I was told students are for university. So the pupils in that school decided enough is enough. We are going to take back our own, and we are going to get those guys punished. If the police are working with these people and they are not going to basically give us justice, you know what I'm saying? then we're going to take justice into our own hands. And that was the day when everybody was told, we're going to go to a certain location and we're going to go and get these guys, and we're going to just make sure that they will never bother anyone in that school again. That was in 1991. And but the actions that took place that particular day were the most traumatic, because those thugs were beaten up, right?
Okay.
Police came, and wow, it was chaos. I'm not even sure if those guys made it afterwards. I didn't even want to know, but it was almost like it was meant to happen that way in order for us to start getting safe. So we started becoming safe or safer around 91, 92, all right? And 93 was actually my last year. So it was that kind of thing, like difficulty after difficulty. But, at the end of the day, hey, it's growing pains. I cannot say that I miss my school days at all.
I can say that I do miss probably my school days, but for all the wrong reasons, because for me, it was just fun and games, But at least, you have something to show for it. I mean, you have a bachelor's degree, so, I mean, you took it really seriously, and I had nothing to show for my school days, When I had the opportunity to start work at a very young age, that's what I did, I felt it was more me. So I finished my high school, and once I finished that, I said, that's it, I do regret it, because if I could, I would go back and study something that I really liked, But as I said, back in the day, it was very expensive. And so, I couldn't put a burden like that on my parents.
Yeah.
So, I started working. That was basically it. But,
Yeah. Oh, well, I suppose there are almost similarities in that when I finished high school, I also started working immediately. I was 18 though, I wasn't 14 like you.
Well, to be honest, the first is as when I was a little kid in England. I mean, when I was on a Saturday morning, because Saturday there was no school, I would go and help the milkman, to get that little bit of pocket money, and I would start 3 o'clock in the morning until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was like 8, 9 years old.
Wow.
But I did it while I was having fun, I've always had this thing about work. But
yeah, no, absolutely.
I do miss school though, come on, I mean...
You do. That's good. That makes one of us. Yeah,
but I mean, you have no need to go back. I mean, you realise you got what you wanted. You worked hard, even if it was really tough. But you made it through it. And you have, as I said, you have something to show for it. I mean, a bachelor's degree is not everyday thing.
But it's still not enough.
But you're still very intelligent.
It's like a punishment.
And you make me look like, how can I put it? I don't really ignorant, but hey,
No, but I mean, you know what they say, opposites attract, and at the end of the day...
I mean, me and you can't be more opposite than...
That's why we call different strokes. We gel in a way that maybe someone else might not understand, but we actually complement each other in many ways.
I mean, different strokes, of course, came from the colour, for her, of course, being black and me
Not
being
only
white.
colour.
I'm just saying this is what the basic idea came from, And then there's just so many things that are different between me and you.
Yeah.
Music, we're completely different. When it's choices of phones, let's not even touch the argument, Cars, we do have a few things, but you know,
Right.
but yeah, it's
Yeah. He's iPhone. I'm Samsung. So.
yeah, and I'm BMW
I
and
just
she's
needed
Merc.
yeah, I just needed to throw that out there. All right, so you know, for me though, I think that out of this, right, there can only be something positive. Okay, for me particularly, I didn't necessarily get out of high school what I really wanted.
Okay.
But at the end, at a later stage in my life, I was able to take myself through school. In other words, to further my studies. But I still feel that it's not enough. It's like, you get groomed and pruned, and it never stops. It shouldn't stop, because as human beings, we need to thrive.
I mean, since I've known you, you've always been studying, and you're still doing it. You know, and I think that you'll be studying till the day we leave this earth. You know?
Absolutely. it should never stop, because it's stimulating in a big way for me. You know what I'm saying? You have your own things that might be stimulating for you,
Yeah.
but for me, studying is exactly that. And so that's why I say it never stops.
What it is, I mean, of course, something has to really, capture, capture your mind or whatever, and then so you read it and you actually think, wow, this is good. And,
Right.
But sometimes, it's, when I was at school, right, they made you read things. I'm like, why? Why? Please, just let it go. And you'd read it, and you get to the end of the page, and you're like, what did I just read? So.
Different strokes for different folks.
You
That's
see,
what it is.
Yeah, it's like, I just want to say one thing. I have a friend of mine in Italy that wrote a book, and this book, I mean, it's a page grabber, right? It's a page turner, and you get to the end of the book, you're like, what did I just read? And yet the title of the book is "We're Talking About Nothing."
And you spend time actually going through that book. Oh, wow. It's like when people say they're discussing oh no, now I'm going blank. Okay, well,
Of course,
skipped my mind.
it must be
But
emotion
anyway,
being with me.
Yeah, it skipped my mind. Okay, anyway, this is unscripted, by the way, so that's the reason why we would forget. So please, we're asking you very nicely to please subscribe to our channel, Different Strokes, MMZ, Family Matters, okay, please, and this is for our podcast. You can also get in touch with us on Twitter, on MMZ Strokes. On Instagram, we are different.strokes.mnz. On Facebook, we are diff strokes mnz. So those are two separate words. Diff space strokes mnz. And we also have an email address. Please get in touch with us on different.strokesmnz@gmail.com. Please, we would like to hear more from you. And thank you so much for your support. And thank you to those that actually called me, concerned, about, have I got enough counseling or psychological assistance, etc. I am fine. I'm really, really fine. And that's the reason why I could talk about my situation without breaking down and crying, So, yes. And thank you very much to those that actually see me as a very strong woman. I am hoping that many other strong women out there can stand up and not only speak about this, but do something to help others. And ultimately, we want to get to doing community work and
charities and
yes,
whatever.
Absolutely. That is our drive. And ultimately, we are going to get it done. It is going to be done. All right. So, my love,
I just wanted to say that hopefully within the next couple of episodes, what we'll be doing is we'll be using another camera as well. So we'll be doing the YouTube channel, but at the same time we'll be going live on Facebook. So I mean, of course you'll be getting a notification saying that we'll be going live. So I mean, if that floats your boat, that would be nice to hear from you. And then we'll be probably giving out a phone number as soon as we can, so we can actually interact during the episode.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Please keep your eyes peeled for more episodes, because we're definitely not going to end things here. The next topic that we are going to be discussing is toxic relationships. Okay, so that is relationship between a man or woman, man, woman, whatever relationship, including your friendship or a relationship with your friends, family, okay? Toxic relationships. How do you get yourself out of toxic relationships? How do you say, I'm done, I'm not going to be part of this relationship anymore? How do you walk away from that?
Yeah. So, eyes peeled, and
right.
hopefully.
How do you detach from toxic relationships? Think about it. Contact us, please. We would love to hear from you. So, like my lovely said, keep your eyes peeled for more videos. Thank you very much for tuning in. Goodbye.